Please stand by. We're about to begin. Good day and welcome to the Best Practices in Improving Customer Insight Conference presented by Aite Group, KeyBank, and Equifax. Today's question and answer session will be conducted via the Internet. To ask your question, please locate the Q&A option from the top menu bar in the console. Type in your question and then click Ask to get your message to our Q&A panel. Please keep in mind that you cannot submit another question until your first question has been answered. Today's conference is being recorded. We will begin today's conference with a short video, so please turn up your computer speakers for the duration of the video. Ladies and gentlemen, our speakers today are Christine Pratt with Aite Group, Lee Grice with Equifax, and Erica Jackson with KeyBank. I'd now like to turn the conference over to Christine Pratt. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. Equifax asked me to be here today to share with you our recent research on bank and in credit union as well, technology directions in both consumer and small business credit. We'll begin today by looking at where our industry is right now and what is driving the technology initiatives that could help the return to strong performance level during the tough times ahead. What this chart shows is that our economic meltdown has led to the loss of nearly $1 trillion in balances in just the last 3 years. This is especially disconcerting if you think about the fact that from 1998 to 2008, this portfolio grew by just about $10 trillion, and during those years contributed heavily to many banks and credit unions' overall financial performance. Every product set shown here has lower balances today than they did in 2008. Charge-offs have been very high as well. There has been a significant drop in income interest earned and in returns from the credit portfolio to the institutions. As our economy continues to land hard, the industry looks to become more efficient and at the same time to retain its customers. That means service quality has to be ramped up as well, which is difficult to budget to do given the lack of new loans and the continued volume of existing loans that you need to process. What you see here are key industry challenges that drive most of our technology initiatives. In the years that I've been looking at the industry, what I've seen is that high-level factors don't change, just the degrees to which they impact our industry. Right now, almost every challenge in this chart is in play. A common focus among banks and credit unions has emerged that looks for opportunities to grow the portfolio and at the same time to manage risk and regulations as well as uncertainty amongst regulators. And at the same time, do it all efficiently and unfortunately without much technology or other resources. Resources that have been scarce due to the ongoing demands of compliance with new rules, new regulations. Ultimately, for banks and credit unions, moving forward is all about profitability, customers, and managing risks. So then the direction of most retail institutions is tactical. differentiate the outside, simplify the inside, protect the institution and the brand, and personalize service at the customer level. It sounds so simple, but it really isn't. When it comes right down to it, the most critical mandate is to know who your profitable customers are and to keep them. This is becoming increasingly difficult to do. Your first challenge is to know who those customers are, and most lenders tell us they really don't. The blame for this usually goes to lack of good data and disparate and disaggregated processing systems. Next up is to be sure that your customers are satisfied with each service interaction, and satisfied customers stay. Industry satisfaction surveys show us that that's not working so well either. Customer loyalty and brand image are declining. Satisfaction has definitely leveled off. Credit products are disappearing. Guaranteed student loans are gone. Cutbacks in HELOCs and tax refund loans make it extremely difficult for consumers. The image of banks has deteriorated. Large and vocal banks have done little to dispel this image. Even credit unions find it hard to attract new members. In 2010, new member growth slid to a 5-year low. When Aite Group surveys top lenders, our takeaway is that lenders believe overall that customers changed and that good data is hard to find. They do see credit opportunities in the next 2 years, and what most tell us that they plan to do is to focus on customers, on data management and on integration, to rethink product sets, to look at pricing and processing profitably, to leverage online channels and tools to free up business processes that are basically, as one described to me, locked in the 70s, to push for more flexibility in technology designs, which helps to meet new competitions for loans, and to look for new clients and analytics in the small business or small commercial loan space. Large lenders are not alone in their difficulties. What this chart shows is that 61% of community banks voice concerns about their access to internal data, new external data, and with analytics. And along with this, many credit unions are also specifically pointing to the inability to include internal data as well as new sources of external data in their models. CIOs in large banks are already talking about investments that they've made for more and better data that will be used for more than risk and for compliance. This should help to improve customer satisfaction and speed up processes such as loan origination. Loan origination is the processing segment that many credit organizations have concluded is their technology priority, because it is a significant touch point as well as a source of dissatisfaction for new customers. Most organizations are looking to optimize origination processing because they need to improve the timeliness of response and their knowledge of the credit quality of a new customer that they're looking for. The consensus is that to do this, there is a need to move information real time and to automate as many decisions as possible. It could be easier for U.S. lenders to modernize origination systems or even catch up because, as we see here, United States CIOs tend to be a bit more practical and pragmatic than their global counterparts when it comes to both IT and business process outsourcing. They believe that their institutions are open to accepting a managed services delivery model, which is certainly a good way to improve processing and at the same time helps to reduce the cost of ownership of technology. So what do we see moving forward? Lenders everywhere tell us that the greatest challenge to moving forward that they face right now, and maybe long into the future, is growing their credit portfolios profitably. The economy helped generate a significant decline in portfolio balances, and increasing risk and uncertainty have certainly strained resources. Most know that heavy investments in technology in the near term is not feasible, and yet they are facing growing challenges from online aggregators who make traditional lenders look slow and inflexible in their processing. What we are seeing is that traditional lenders, in their journey to return to strong performance levels, will need tools to help find and then retain customers with that good risk profile. To do this quickly and to do this efficiently, they need more help from technology than their budgets can afford, which is really where working with vendor partners comes into the mix. So this seems a good time to introduce Lee Grice, who will discuss with us some of the new initiatives that Equifax has been working on to meet credit industry challenges. Lee?
Thanks to you, Chris, and Aite Group for sharing with us today this industry overview. I'm going to share today a little bit about what we're hearing from our customers, along with some practical viewpoints and statistics that are influencing banks and credit unions today as they develop their go-to-market strategy for products and services. We at Equifax work with many clientele from the banking industry, and we hear a lot from our customers about growth and efficiency. And this is not just a recent trend. However, there is definitely a renewed sense of urgency and specifics as to the goals that customers are looking to achieve. Regarding growth, our customers have consistently told us for several years that building more product relationships by delivering new products that customers want and need is critical for growth. There are new opportunities for banks to change the way they look at this problem, and we'll share some of those with you today. Similarly, efficiency has always been an objective of banks, but the ever-increasing cadence of changes affecting banks is driving a new emphasis on delivering efficient processes. Banks are looking for this efficiency gain to help better respond to the market needs, enable business users, access more information, improve quality, and centralize key business processes. We see banks putting in place cross-organizational teams with participants from multiple internal stakeholders such as marketing, technology, lending, and risk with the responsibility to deliver strategic and tactical objectives to support growth and efficiency goals within those organizations. What's standing in the way? Well, this picture might be a bit of a hyperbole, but there are significant challenges as banks look to transform. Equifax is helping banks overcome two important obstacles. The information chasm. Banks want more timely and more relevant information to help grow their business. And the systems chasm. Existing software systems are inhibiting growth and efficiency gains. Most banks will find opportunities to improve customer interaction as a means to drive growth. The nature of all customer interactions is dependent on who they are, what they have, what they're looking for, where they live, what they do, etc. In summary, customer insight. Across the top of this diagram is the information enrichment chain, which shows how customer insights are transformed into meaningful customer relationships. Moving from left to right, data or information is transformed from its raw form into quantified elements, such as attributes and scores. These analytic outputs lead to decisions, and ultimately decisions beget offers that are made to customers. These offers define the nature of current and future relationships. All banks minimally employ the current common practices of using credit and marketing information, applying some level of customer generic industry scores as defined by their risk policies, then deliver these decisions in the form of offers to the consumer, often with secondary or cross-sell components. There are improvements to this process that will become best practices. First, alternative data assets bring a wealth of new detail about customers and prospects, and many financial institutions are starting to use alternative data. This information expands the perspective available from traditional credit risk to capacity and collateral assets. This is an area for banks to evaluate in order to grow their business, and Equifax has invested significantly to improve the complete perspective available for customer insight. I also want to point out that the usage of internal customer data. This is a big opportunity for many businesses. As customers interact across multiple channels, utilizing internal data can be an important factor for banks looking to differentiate themselves in the market. Moving to the right, we see advanced modeling and analytic techniques are being applied that deliver more predictive and powerful intelligence to risk and product teams. Advanced techniques and the inclusion of a more robust customer perspective will deliver significant performance improvements over traditional models. This new intelligence not only helps make better product decisions, but also changes the general nature of how products are presented. The new best practice is to make decisions based on overall customer relationships with the goal of improving bank profitability. These next best action solutions enhance the nature of the banking relationship from a traditional product-centric approach to one that measures the full client opportunity and helps build more relevant relationships between banks and their customers. Let's look at some details how the use of alternative data can support growth. This is an actual example showing lift derived from alternative data. In this case, we're going to look at how utilities information, which is not reported on the credit report but is now available for use in lending policies, can improve portfolio performance. The details here show the impact on two types of unsecured lending products, bank card and private label retail credit. These accounts were opened based on risk policies using credit and credit scores. This example shows a segmentation by prime, mid-prime, and subprime populations and the corresponding bad rate percentage and charge-off balance amount for each segment. Here we see how utilities information can be used to better quantify account risk using two approaches, swap out only and swap in and swap out. Notice the two columns on the right. Swap out only simply means we use the new information to find additional high-risk accounts within the approved population. So we found a lot more of the bad guys. The net benefit shows a significant improvement across all segments of the population. Notice the overall and per account benefit in each segment, and in particular the impact in the subprime segment. So in this scenario, the overall goal is to reduce the bad rate. We're approving fewer overall accounts, but profitability goes up. The swap in and swap out columns show the impact of using this alternative data to not only find bad accounts we previously approved, but also to find those accounts that were previously declined but can now be swapped in and approved. So in this scenario, the goal is to keep the bad rate percentage the same, but still improve portfolio profitability. So while the impact may not appear quite as substantial, it is important to know the swap in, swap out approach will approve more accounts than a swap out only, creating more overall account relationships with the potential for longer-term profitability. From this one example, we can see how alternative data can help make better decisions and provide significant profitability growth within our current portfolio. I should point out that this example just shows the impact of utilities information on a universe of scorable accounts. There's also a corresponding lift on unscorable accounts as well, creating more opportunities to automate account decisions and improve overall performance. Alternative data combined with traditional credit data provides a more complete consumer perspective and can lift account and portfolio performance. Banks that use it will see significant performance improvements in their portfolios and overall bottom line growth. Let's transition a bit and look at the systems that support the customer interactions. Banks need to get the most value from the data and analytics to support growth, and there are some important systems considerations that will impact banks' ability to succeed in doing this. So, where to deploy attributes and models is the question. Just to make sure we're on the same page, attributes are the quantifiable measures derived from data. Models are the algorithms that exploit the predictive power of attributes. Often the output is the model is a score, which we're all familiar with. Custom analytics, a best practice, will drive the most value for banks as they are tuned to a bank's-specific business objective. But banks need to decide where these custom models will be deployed, and the decision here can have significant impact on overall efficiency. So let's look at three common options. The first option is for the model to be deployed at the credit bureau data provider, and we see this frequently. When the data is pulled, the model is executed, and the resulting score is delivered along with the data. There are considerations. When the models are deployed at the data source, you don't really have the ability to make changes to the model yourselves. The models are limited to the data that's available from that data source. If you use multiple providers for data, such as credit reports, then the model is actually coded multiple times, and all of this causes time to value challenges, particularly when changes are needed. Of course, there is the benefit that the provider best understands their own data, and ongoing support responsibilities lie with the Bureau. The next option listed here is to deploy the model within software that provides integration to data, which I'll refer to as the Bureau Engine. Generally, this is a software application that handles the integration to disparate data sources and makes it available in a common manner. Many positive considerations here. Single source control streamlines change process. What I mean by that is the Bureau Engine enables the model to be deployed once, but execute across all common data sources. So a credit model, for example, can be deployed once, but execute across all three consumer bureaus. A bureau engine can support multiple product lines, greatly impacting efficiency, and we'll take a look at this particular example in more detail in a moment. Deploying models within the bureau engine will enable multiple data source models, which can be more predictive than single source models. And similarly, this option will ensure you can leverage alternative data and models. And finally, this option should enable business users access to make changes, removing a critical dependency on IT resources. The last option listed, we see some customers deploying models within the decision engine or origination systems. Sometimes these are one and the same, sometimes different, but they have some common considerations. If the customer has multiple decisioning origination systems, then it's likely a model will need to be maintained in multiple systems. Models coded in one system supporting a channel may be unavailable for use in another system supporting a different channel. For example, it may be difficult for a model used for HELOC decisioning deployed in a mortgage origination system to also be made available in an account opening platform for cross-selling those HELOC loans. If the loan origination system requires customization in order to support the model deployment, it may inhibit future upgrades to increase support costs. We see this as a particular challenge for customers. The use of alternative data and advanced analytical techniques may require multiple requests for information, which can create inefficient processes and can impact system performance. I realize there's a lot of information here, and there's some technical considerations as well. As you can see, the second option we discussed, deploying within the bureau engine, provides many benefits over other options, and we believe provides the most efficiency gains for organizations. Let's look at a practical example of how a customer has leveraged this bureau engine option. This example is a common scenario we see at many banks. As we know, customers are integrating with banks across multiple channels, often supported by multiple technology platforms. Here we see each product line has evolved to have its own unique combination of systems. This bank is managing a different set of technology in support of consumer lending, credit card, business lending, and their deposit products. From a systems perspective, there are 3 unique data access platforms, 4 different systems for delivering modeling and analytics, 4 different decisioning engines, and 3 loan origination systems. This complex environment creates inefficiencies and organizational risk. Just the support and maintenance costs for all these different systems is staggering, but introducing change into this environment is the real challenge. We showed previously the lift that an alternative data source, in this case utilities information, can provide. Should this bank wish to introduce this alternative data into any policy leveraging consumer information, then all systems shown here may have some level of impact. On the data access and analytical layers alone, this means 7 change requests, potentially 7 different sets of requirements, different development teams and processes, different QA teams, etc. It's not only a challenge for many banks, it's a barrier that cannot be overcome, and we see the same scenario at many banks. But there is a better way, and one that many banks are using to deliver more growth and efficient processes. The solution is to centralize the data access layer and analytical layer into a single bureau engine. A consolidated approach leveraging the bureau engine across multiple business lines yields extreme benefits. We've seen how differentiated data can yield growth in the lending practices. This solution enables the change process so that multiple product lines can leverage new information much more quickly. Should something need to be changed to support business growth, there is 1 change request, 1 development cycle, and 1 QA cycle. Our HELOC model can be deployed once and made available to both the consumer lending and consumer deposit channel technology. As we know, things are going to change. Regulations and market requirements are going to dictate it. But this best practice approach greatly reduces the impact of all these changes. Also, and we haven't elaborated on this as much, a best-in-class bureau engine will support the ability for business users to manage as much change as possible, creating further efficiencies. When business users can make changes, not only are IT resources not needed, quality is improved and time to value is greatly enhanced. Let's summarize the benefits. By utilizing this best practices approach, we believe customers are positioned for growth. Deeper customer insight leads to a more customer-centric relationship and positions the bank to take the necessary steps to create more meaningful, profitable, long-term relationships with consumers. These best practices will have significant impact to overall efficiencies. We've seen estimates of efficiency gains leading to an almost 75% cost savings for a customer to add a custom model. As data assets are centralized, they can more easily be used across existing business processes, creating more opportunities for service improvements. And we're talking real savings too, almost $250,000 of cost savings for deploying a single model used across 3 product lines over the previous solution. So we've covered a lot of information in a short period of time, and I know you're ready to hear from our next speaker. Insight Gateway is the Equifax solution we highlighted in the best practice system scenario. It's our Bureau Engine solution that allows you to access all the latest new and differentiated data sources and combine that with your own internal data and other third-party data sources to efficiently implement deeper customer insight into your existing business processes. This easy-to-implement solution can support all your product lines and channels to drive maximum efficiency. We enable business users to make changes and simplify the process to drive new analytics and improve overall product performance. Insight Gateway simplifies the process of testing, improves quality, and helps business better respond to changes in support of growth and efficiency objectives. We can help you improve your speed to market with new analytics and implement the best practices regarding data integration and decisioning. I thank you for your attendance today, and I'd like to introduce our guest speaker from KeyBank, Ms. Erica Jackson. Erica?
Thanks, Lee, for that introduction and for sharing with us improving customer insight best practices. In order to keep pace with the industry and continue our commitment to growth and efficiency, a few years ago, KeyBank determined that we needed to update our current originations processing infrastructure. Due to the age of our current originations platform, there were many things that we wanted to update and make a lot more agile. A few of the primary drivers were around data access, technology or IT dependency, and having the best tools for each major component of the originations process. We wanted access to the most recent credit bureau versions and other alternative data sources beyond credit so that we could make better underwriting decisions and improve our ability to make right product offers. We also wanted to be able to test and deploy new attributes as well as use new scorecards without waiting on IT or outside vendor help. Having the right tool for each of the originations functions led us to take a service-oriented approach to implementing multiple best-in-class platforms. Now let's talk about the specific areas where we achieve the most efficiencies in migrating to these new platforms, in particular the Bureau Engine. Some of the challenges that we faced with our existing Bureau Engine centered around attribute creation. There was duplication of work across different lines of business since our attributes had to be built and coded for each individual system. In addition, our team would spec out the attributes, but it was time-consuming for waiting on IT resources to code the attributes in the various platforms. We wanted to make attribute creation and implementation centralized. We felt that by centralizing attribute creation, the risk team could now develop, test, and deploy attributes without waiting on IT, thereby allowing other origination systems across the enterprise easy access to the shared attribute library and the models. We chose an enterprise approach to centralizing attributes that could obviously be used for different systems and lines of business. The new Bureau Engine provided centralized data access and aggregation within a single interface. Centralization of this data integration layer reduced our costs and improved our business agility such that new data sources can now be leveraged across all of our various lines of business. The centralized data normalization and attribution within the Bureau Engine also provided for standard attributes that could be deployed once and leveraged across all of our data sources. In addition, normalization requirements that are unique to Key are deployed centrally, reducing overall costs and ongoing maintenance. A single consistent interface simplifies our integration and enables further technology improvements. As a result, our overall cost structure, as well as operational risk and business agility, are improved. Enabling our risk business users and modelers was another big objective. Previously, changes required COBOL programming and hiring outside consultants to code new attributes. Silo technology also meant a duplication of expense for each individual business line. The new solution, however, leverages English-like language syntax as well as business-centric verbalization, which allows for the risk credit data experts to also be the quote-unquote programmers while still maintaining a robust change management process and eliminating the need for IT resources. As a result, our new attributes can be published for downstream consumption in a matter of days, allowing to drive more value through analytics and automated decisioning. In summary, the KeyBank approach is thus. Our legacy single-threaded origination system created multiple issues that required our decision engine to be replaced first. The decision engine provided the most lift because we were able to increase systematic decisioning and improve our overall cycle times and speed of returning decisions to customers. We also adopted a multi-threaded decisioning approach that analyzed and performed all decisions related to an application at once, eliminating the stop-start sequential decisioning. Again, we took a service-oriented approach to selecting best-in-class vendors and rated them against our requirements for each component of the originations platform. We determined that the best-in-class bureau engine should allow attribute development via a user interface that was easy for risk users / non-IT users to code and deploy characteristics and attributes. We wanted the most current credit bureau versions and reports since our legacy system was stuck on older versions. We also chose a vendor with access to the most current credit data sources as well as access to alternative non-credit data sources. With the new bureau engine, then the responsibility for updating and maintaining new versions and data sources belong to Equifax. The most difficult issue that we faced during this implementation was around our merge and dedupe process. It was very challenging for us to look at a joint application and to decision on the combined credit situation for multiple applicants. And originally, we had gone with another vendor for this, but it turned out to be a challenge that they could not resolve. With Insight Gateway, not only are we able to centralize the attributes and get timely access to new data sources, but we're able to do advanced decisioning around credit data like the merge and dedupe. In using the Equifax credit experts to set up this solution also allowed us to leverage their expertise around credit data and best practices. We've realized that strong and effective project management is essential for these types of projects. Equifax provided for us full project management support, which simplified the project on our side. We also found, again, that Equifax's credit data experience was invaluable during the implementation. We had originally considered an on-premise solution, but we determined that software as a service provided enhanced business continuity while reducing our total cost of ownership, maintenance, and upkeep, which is now Equifax's responsibility. At this time, I would like to turn it back over to the operator.
Thank you. Today's question and answer session will be conducted via the Internet. To ask your question, please locate the Q&A option from the top menu bar in the console. Type in your question and then click Ask to get your message to our Q&A panel. Please keep in mind that you cannot submit another question until your first question has been answered.
Okay, we've had a couple of questions come in during the webinar, and we'll take them as they keep coming in for the next few minutes. The first question is, what are examples of non-bureau data the solution supports? And I'm going to pass this question to Lee.
Okay. So non-bureau data, I take that to mean like consumer credit reports, consumer credit bureaus. Thinking about it, it might make sense to run through a list of these types of information available on Insight Gateway. So we support all three consumer bureaus, the three commercial credit bureaus, utility information, which I mentioned in our example, income and employment information from TALKS, investment asset information from IXI, checking account risk assets from both Fidelity and First Data Telecheck, multiple fraud and identity solutions from Equifax and LexisNexis, alternative thin file no-hit solutions from Link2Sell and PCI. Skip locate information is also available from Equifax and other data sources. So that's just a little bit of the list of data sources that we support. So hopefully you get a perspective of some of the non-bureau data from that.
Great, thanks. And Erica, a question here for you. How is KeyBank planning on using alternative data assets?
Well, our plan is, as we continue to grow our product portfolio, obviously some of these newer products, we would utilize the alternative data sources to get enhanced evaluation and scrutiny of an applicant's creditworthiness.
Okay, great. We've got another question here, and I'll direct this one to you, Lee. What's the process for adding a new data source? How long does it take?
Okay, so I think that's worth explaining a bit. We're constantly adding new data sources, both within a normal release schedule and as part of a customer-specific engagement. So that answer will depend on specific need. It's hard to give specific time frames. Some data sources are simple and easy to integrate to. They use XML and such. Others are not so much. But we can add a new data source in as little as 4 weeks from a development perspective. So hopefully that answers that question.
Very good. Here's another one for you, Lee. If we are getting the solution from Equifax, how does this work, and how does this work with other bureau data sources?
Okay, so that's somewhat similar to the first question, maybe, but and I covered the list of data sources. I think it's worth mentioning that Insight Gateway leverages our Interconnect platform, which can support both Equifax and non-Equifax data sources. And I should mention, you heard Erica speak about verbalization. We have a lot of history at Equifax working not only with our own data, but the data used in the industry. So when we integrate to a data source, we verbalize it, make it easy to use for our users to use no matter where the source of that information is coming from. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay. Another question. You mentioned the use of customer data, which I take to mean our own account information. How does that work?
Okay, so that's a great question and takes you to the person for asking it. The use of customer data can really enhance analytics and the overall customer experience. We find that lots of customers, not just banks, have a difficult time pulling that information together and using it within their customer channels. So it can be a rather complex problem to solve for, and there's a lot to really expand on. But we can integrate the customer system, certainly, if they have that information available, or we can leverage our keying technology to build sort of the linkages to all this data, as well as to persistence of it in the database so that it can be used in a real-time solution. And we're doing this today for several customers, and it's really helped drive additional value for both risk and marketing purposes. So I hope that answered that. Great.
I think this is another one for you, Lee. What versions of the 3 consumer credit reporting agencies do you currently access? Okay,
so that's a pretty detailed question. We support Equifax, I think 5.0 and 6.0, as well as Experian's 11.0 version and TransUnion 4.0. I think I got all those numbers right. And I should point out, all 3 of these credit reporting systems, I mean, they have their own independent update cycle, usually a couple of times a year, and we maintain the support of all that. I think Erica had mentioned that as well. I think this, to me, this is one of the real value adds, is we're managing all of this change for our customers.
And it looks like this is the last question, so if anybody has any other questions, please send them in now. As you mentioned simplifying testing, can you give us more detail? How does your system help test attributes?
Okay, good question. We make available a couple options here. One, we have a testing facility, we call it Test Drive, that makes available an inventory of test records across all the data sources, and it has a user interface that helps you search and find those test records. You can create new test records and make those available for testing. So that's an important option for many of our customers. And also, we can persist data from production transactions flowing through for customers and take that data, anonymize it so that we handle all the compliance issues, and then that live data can be used to test new attributes. And I should point out, you can do this testing either one at a time or with batches of records, depending on your needs.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have. No other questions have come in, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to the operator to close out today's webinar.
Thank you. That does conclude today's conference. We thank you for your participation.